On the first morning, I walked into Blackridge Tactical Institute in Montana. I knew within 30 seconds that someone had already decided I did not belong there, because Senior Instructor Cole Mercer looked at my civilian instructor application, glanced at the old military qualifications attached to it, and smiled as though he had just discovered a harmless joke waiting to be told. "You're going to teach precision shooting?" he asked loudly enough for the other instructors to hear, and when a few people chuckled behind him, I simply adjusted the strap of my range bag and answered, "That's what I was hired to do," even though something inside me had already begun preparing for a fight I never wanted. My name was Elise Warren. I was 31, and after 7 years serving as a precision observer and instructor in the Army, I had deliberately chosen a quieter life teaching responsible firearms, handling at a private training facility where I could spend my days helping ordinary people become safer and more confident without having to explain every chapter of my past. Cole, however, seemed determined to reduce that entire history to a handful of assumptions, repeatedly calling me the desk recruit because I had refused to discuss classified assignments during my interview, while his favorite trainee, Mason, openly joked that I probably learned everything from online videos. For the first month, I ignored him because I had learned during my service that reacting to every provocation only gives the person provoking you control over the room. So I concentrated on my students, created detailed lesson plans, stayed late to inspect equipment, and quietly built a reputation among the serious trainees for being patient, precise, and unusually good at explaining why small technical mistakes could become dangerous habits. Then, during an advanced assessment, Cole deliberately changed the conditions halfway through my class without warning, expecting me to stumble. But instead of panicking, I reorganized the exercise, explained the safety implications to everyone present, and completed the evaluation with the highest score recorded that season. Cole stared at the results for several seconds before pushing the clipboard toward me and saying, "A good day doesn't prove anything." And when I asked what would, he leaned closer and replied, "Real pressure reveals people," as though he had finally found the argument he wanted to use against me. I could have challenged him right there. But instead, I remembered something my former mentor used to say whenever someone tried to measure experience by volume rather than evidence. Never argue with a person who is determined to underestimate you when you can simply give the truth enough room to introduce itself. A week later, Blackridge announced that every senior instructor would undergo an independent competency review, conducted by an outside evaluator, and Cole immediately volunteered to coordinate the schedule, apparently confident that controlling the process would give him another opportunity to expose what he believed was my weakness. What he didn't know was that I had already submitted a sealed professional portfolio to the Institute director, Dr. Hannah Reed, containing years of verified training evaluations, competition results, instructor certifications, field commendations, and performance assessments from assignments I had never mentioned because I had never needed strangers to believe my story. The evaluation took place inside an old mountain training facility during a bitter November storm, with snow striking the windows and the entire staff watching from behind the observation barrier as the visiting evaluator introduced a series of unfamiliar scenarios designed to test judgment, consistency, communication, and composure, rather than simply rewarding someone who could perform one impressive drill. Cole went first and delivered a respectable performance. But when my turn came, I noticed a subtle problem in the exercise setup. Stopped the assessment, explained the safety concern before continuing, and then completed the remaining evaluation calmly enough that the evaluator eventually removed his glasses and said, "You didn't just follow the test, Ms. Warren. You understood what the test was actually measuring." The final results were not announced immediately, which made the following 3 days almost unbearable because rumors spread through the institute. Cole became increasingly confident, and several instructors quietly suggested that the outside evaluator had probably favored me because of my military background, until Dr. Reed summoned the entire senior staff into the conference room and placed a thick black folder on the table. She looked directly at Cole and said, Before we discuss rankings, I want everyone to understand that our independent evaluator found a serious discrepancy between the way some of our instructors have been judging competence and the actual evidence supporting it. Then she opened the folder and revealed that I had achieved the highest overall assessment in the Institute's history, not because of one exceptional performance, but because I had scored consistently across technical accuracy, instructional judgment, safety leadership, communication, and decision-making under pressure, while Cole's own reports contained several contradictory evaluations that suggested he had repeatedly dismissed qualified instructors without properly reviewing their professional records. Cole's expression changed when Dr. Reed explained that the review had also uncovered complaints from former employees, including statements describing a pattern of intimidation and favoritism. And suddenly, the man who had spent months questioning whether I belonged in the room was sitting silently while the director asked him why he had never bothered to examine the evidence before forming his opinion. I did not celebrate when Cole was removed from supervisory duties, because by then, the victory felt less like defeating a rival and more like watching a locked door finally swing open for everyone who had been standing outside it. And Dr. Reed later asked me to help redesign the Institute's instructor evaluation system so that future employees would be judged through documented performance, transparent standards, and independent review, rather than personality or office politics. Months later, when a nervous young instructor joined our team and quietly admitted that she was afraid someone would decide she wasn't good enough before giving her a chance, I handed her the new evaluation handbook and told her, "You don't have to convince everyone who you are on the first day. Just keep doing honest work, and eventually the evidence becomes louder than the doubt." I still remember Cole's first question whenever I walk onto that range, not because it hurt me anymore, but because it reminds me how easily people can confuse confidence with competence, and how dangerous it becomes when the person making that mistake has authority over others. And the greatest lesson I carried away was never about shooting, military service, or proving a particular score. It was about refusing to let someone else's limited imagination become the boundary of your future. Please subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and family. We create entertaining and inspiring stories for our viewers, and your support helps us continue making great content for you.